Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
Okay, so welcome everybody to the European Cluster Alliance Against Coronavirus Forum. As you know, this forum is organized by the European Cluster Alliance in collaboration with the European Commission and with a strong support from the EURADA organization and the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. This is an open forum. We are this month studying the new industrial ecosystems and also working on how can we link those ecosystems to the new European national recovery plans. Okay, that's the main topic for the next sessions. And today we are going to speak about the industrial renewable energy ecosystem. Okay, that's the topic. And to do that, we have one representative from the European Commission, Julia. Sorry, there are noise from somebody. Please, if you are not speaking, put your mic off. I think it's Cecilia. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. So, as I was saying, we have three speakers that will deliver share their knowledge at the beginning of the session. The first one is Julia Bauer, sorry for the pronunciation, from DG Energy. The second one is Bianca Dragomir. I see Bianca in the screen. Welcome, Bianca, from the cluster ABAESEN. And the third one is Enrique Tijisin. Again, sorry for the pronunciation, for the Eco Alliance Rhineland Pfalz. Sorry. So this is it. I don't see Julia between the. Yes, sorry.
Hello. Good morning.
Cameras. Okay, thank you very much, Julia. You are very welcome. I have your presentation. Would you prefer to pass through them yourself, or?
If you could project my slides, and I will let you know when we can move to the next one, that would be perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. I will briefly introduce myself in the meantime. So my name is Julia Walscherbauer. I work in DG Energy in the new technologies unit, which is in the directorate with renewable energy and energy efficiency. And today I will give you about 10 minutes of introduction to the renewable energy ecosystem and a bit also the wider political context of where we're standing. Next slide, please. So you may have seen last week that that there was a proposal coming out about the EU climate target plan. So this proposal, well, we as Commission propose to cut net greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030, up from the current target of 40%. This, of course, builds on what came out in 2018, which was the long-term strategy, where we were sharing our vision of how we could get to net zero by the mid-century. And of course, the overall context in this is the European Green Deal, which is one of the flagship programs of our Commission President von der Leyen. And I think an important element in this graph is when you look at the blue color. I'm sorry, the font is very small, but it's important for you to look at the blue power colors, and you really see how deep or steep the decrease has to be in the coming years. And I think in this context, it's of course a lot of eyes are turning to renewables and the role that the renewables ecosystem will play. Next slide, please. So one element that I was asked to present is, okay, so which sectors, which areas are we talking about when we speak of the renewables ecosystem? And I think for that, it's really interesting to look at the technology shares in renewable electricity to see a bit what are the important ones today. So the first one today is hydro energy. Then we have wind energy, both onshore and offshore, solar energy, and then we have smaller shares, for example, solid biofuels, but also tidal energy, geothermal energy, and of course, the renewables industry also includes, for example, heat pumps. The share of renewables has doubled since 2005. So we now have a share of about 20%, which was the target for 2020. And from this share, electricity represents about 30%, heating and cooling, which is a high consumption area, is 20%, and transport 9%. Next slide, please. So here I would like to show a bit a comparison how the renewables and also energy efficiency sectors are doing compared to the rest of the economy. And I think these are very encouraging figures because on the left side, you can see that the gross value added of the renewable energy production has grown annually on average about 9%, so almost 10%. And energy efficiency activities have even seen a 20% growth on that period, which really outpaces the rest of the economy, which is the yellow line. So renewables is the blue line in the graph, and you really see that there has been an increase, and of course now it's stabilizing a bit, but still the trend is really very positive compared to the rest of the economy. If you then look on the right side of the graph on the value added per employee, which is also an important indicator, basically labor productivity, you see that the same improvement, and it's of about 70% since 2000. And you see that here the energy efficiency is much more stable, but renewables is growing considerably. Next slide, please. So then just a few indications on employment. How are we doing in this sector? So clean energy technologies and solutions provide full-time employment to about 1.5 million people in Europe, of which more than 500,000 is in renewables and 1 million in energy efficiency. And these jobs have grown from about 300,000 in 2000 to around 500,000 today. However, we have seen kind of a peak around 2011, and now the trend is again stabilizing. And this has been related to the financial crisis, first of all, but then also the dependent relocation of some manufacturing capacity, particularly in the solar photovoltaic sector. So I will turn to that in a second, and also what we're doing today to try to catch up on some of these technologies where we have lost some value chain segments. Another point I wanted to make is that about 50% of jobs today are in the biomass sector. So this is the graph on the right. You see that bioenergy, the brown line, is kind of second one after PV. And the majority is in biofuels. And I think there, what I also wanted to mention is that there is a clear transition needed with advanced biofuels. So we really also would like to see a shift to second generation and third generation biofuels as the future of this industry. And of course, which also would lead to maybe more diversification in the employment in the renewables overall. Just to give maybe perspective, employment in fossil fuel extraction represents about 300,000. So that was what we had when we started analyzing here in 2000. So I think also the growth in renewables is really outpacing fossil fuel production, and that's a very positive trend. Next slide, please. So then I will turn to the current challenges. I think one very worrying trend for us that we have observed also in a recent analysis that will come out now mid of October, is that we see declining budgets at national level devoted to clean energy R&I. Maybe if you could move to the next, yeah. So there you see, in fact, when you compare in the upper right graph that compared to other major economies such as the US and Japan, well, in fact, everyone is decreasing spending, but we have a lower level of spending. So I think this is really putting at risk some of the innovative capacity, and this is something we as European Commission also trying to, reverse this trend amongst others through the national energy and climate plans and other mechanisms that we have to engage in a dialogue with member states. The second graph shows the private research and innovation, and there again, we see that it's decreasing and also that it's only a small part of the revenues that are spent on the sectors that actually really need to be scaled up in order to achieve the energy transition. And I would be very curious to also have your views from the ground on whether this is a trend that you observe in your daily work. Last line, last bullet. So then on the patenting activity, it's kind of the same worrying trend in the sense that we see that at least for regular patents, which means that they're only filled in the country where they're issued, we see a stabilizing trend. So that means that there may be less patents coming out. However, what is not shown in this figure is that for higher value patents, so that means that they are registered in several patent offices, there we are still doing extremely well. So of course, it's not an entirely grim picture, but I think we have to pay attention to research and innovation simply because it is kind of setting the path of what will happen tomorrow. So it is very important. Now my next two slides and my last slides as well, also with regard to time. I will briefly touch upon a few key technologies that I have identified, maybe moving to the next decade, to 2030. So if we first look at some sectors such as offshore wind or renewable hydrogen, so that means electrolyzer industry, or the ocean energy industry, so wave and tidal energy, we are actually doing really well in these sectors. And we, as European industry, hold a competitive edge. However, we also expect these markets to considerably change because the capacity side will increase and the demand both in Europe and globally. So it's there really a key factor that the expertise will have to be pooled across companies and member states to make sure that the required economies of scale can be realized and that we can benefit from positive spillovers. The second bullet is related to smart grids, simply because this is not a clean energy technology. Well, it's not a renewables as such, but it is a key element in order to integrate renewables. And there again, we are doing really well when we look at both the hardware and software solutions, but very high investments are expected in the coming years. And there again, there's an important role for all levels to play in making sure that the infrastructure planning takes place, and of course the investments that follow. Then I would like to also speak of, for example, the two sectors where, for example, solar PV, we used to have a competitive edge and we have lost some manufacturing capacity. And in lithium-ion batteries, we never had manufacturing capacity, but we're catching up. And I think we are increasingly focusing on these two technologies because they are essential in the 2030 and 2050 landscape when we look at the importance they will have. And also because, as we've seen with the COVID-19 crisis, we cannot rely on our value chains being put at risk when there are disruption in international markets. So I think it's also an interesting trend now that there's more and more thought of how we can regain a competitive advantage in almost all segments of these value chains. Next slide, please. So just to conclude, I think also the one key factor is the demand side consideration. So what is the role that the home market plays in developing industrial competitiveness? So there, it's of course an encouraging trend that we have an increased level of ambition that has been proposed now for 2030, which still of course has to be adopted by member states, but we do see a vision and a path to 2050 and to net zero. But of course, there's also the link with the international level, and we also have a role to reduce the cost of the transition globally and bring technologies to the market, and also kind of have a common standard and a high standard, because we want a social sustainability and circular economy standard that is ambitious and that the technologies that we export have this European standard. And last but not least, related to the point I made on R&I investments, they are decreasing, and this puts at risk the long-term development of key technology. So we really have to keep the ambition to be able to achieve the European Green Deal. That's it from my side. I'm sorry I run a bit over time, but I look forward to your questions in the second part of the session.
You were perfect, Julia. Thank you very much. It has been a very clear and interesting presentation. So, as you probably know, we are today speaking about how collaborative environments can help you achieve those goals. And we are joining today here some European clusters, okay, those innovative ecosystems that are focused in this case on renewable energy. And so I will give the floor now briefly to Marek. Marek, are you there? Could you present the numbers on the cluster ecosystem for renewable energy? I will share the...
Yeah, would you share the screen? Yeah.
Yeah, immediately.
I mean, not share the screen, but would you have the presentation? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So again, we have all in total 3,000 clusters in Europe, 1,000 on ECCP. So from this part that we have from ECCP, we extracted the ones which are related to the renewable energy. So it's about 81 industrial clusters which are dealing with renewable energy. They bring together over 10,000 members, mainly SMEs, 7 and 500,000 SMEs. But always when I'm dealing the statistics, it's illustrative, because it's not really the statistics which is like in Eurostat. It's just the declaration, and we take from ECCP. So, but nevertheless, you see, this is the huge potential. Mainly in Spain, as you can see, and France, and Germany, United Kingdom, soon not, unfortunately, in the EU. And Belgium, but Spain is in particularly interesting case for renewable. And yeah, the next slide, please. And again, many of them have the gold label of very excellent management capacity of cluster organizations. They are usually very often involved in cross-sectoral cluster partnerships. They are as well in thematic smart specialization platforms, special energy, renewable energy. And again, this is actually all common for all clusters that we have, the services they provide. So, but one of the things that I would like to emphasize here for renewable energy, I think, is this dissemination, which is it's about mindset changing, capacity of territory that renewable energy are going into the energy market and going across all these traditional ways of energy, not only energy generation, but energy saving and energy use. Thank you, Antonio.
You are very welcome, Marek. Thank you very much. So this is the general information of the ecosystem and how clusters are situated on those ecosystems. And now we are welcoming Bianca Dragomir from Abaesen. Welcome, Bianca. Can you? Yes.
No. Yes. Thank you very much, Antonio.
Okay, should I give you the presentation rights?
So I want to present slides. I will present. Well, I'll make my presentation without slides this morning. We are seeing many slides these days in many webinars and events. So I thought to directly share my experience and share with you also how we work on the green recovery phase from renewable energy cluster. So just to make a start, allow me to briefly introduce my cluster, which is a Valencian clean tech cluster based in Valencia in Spain, and we gather about 300 stakeholders, public and private stakeholders, out of which 160 are basically SMEs, so the business sector. They encompass at their turn 6,000 employees and 3 billion euros of annual turnover. And we gather mainly companies in the renewable energy sector. Actually, 15 years ago, when the cluster was born, it mainly was born around the renewable energy sector, specifically wind and solar, but it gradually evolved into and expanded towards sectors like circular economy, so water and waste management as well, but also smart cities encompassing ICT companies working actively in energy transition, but as I said, waste management, water cycle as well. So our cluster, we could say that actually is a crisis-proof cluster, because a few years ago, about in 2008, when the financial crisis hit harshly in Spain, the crisis was in a very difficult situation. At that moment, the Spanish regulation for renewable was not favorable for the renewable energy industry. Actually, we would have what we call the tax on the sun, which meant that you needed to pay not only for the cost of the renewable energy installation at that time, but also a tax on what you generated out of it. That doesn't exist at the moment, but at that moment, literally, it killed the sector. And in our cluster, from 235 SMEs, this number dropped to less than 100 in less than a year. So the cluster turnaround started by turning the cluster itself into a business generator. And actually nowadays 80% of the members are acknowledging the cluster as a business generator. And we managed to double the number of companies in the cluster and to grow towards other sectors, as I mentioned. And the first step was basically to sit down and with each and every of the companies and to develop what we call a tailored action plan. We worked on a no cure, no basis with our companies. And as I said, this what led to us becoming one of the main business generators for the SMEs, but also it led us to internationalize more than 100 SMEs and to create value in the sector. And that brought us to get this market intelligence bottom-up, in a bottom-up way, and to co-design and co-develop also together with the sector on bringing up on adding value on the policies at regional level. And that was the second step of our turnover, which was basically bringing this intelligence gathering from the sector towards the regional government and working hand in hand with them in order to unlock renewable energy self-consumption in the Valencian region. And as a result, by working with the regional government, we managed to get a partial compensation of the tax on sun for the renewable energy installations, but also to set up more ambitious targets for renewables in the region, like even before the crisis, what the target was that until 2025, 50% of the energy generated to come from the renewable energies. And now also this has grown into also ambitious target for 2030, which I will come back to this. A third way in which we created this turnaround and brought value to the sector through the cluster was to place innovation and entrepreneurship specifically at the core of the cluster, at the very DNA of it. And in partnership with Climate Geek, we launched the first Clean Tech Accelerator in Spain, and we expanded it into our 12 regions. We managed to bring to market more than 100 startups in the clean energy sector, and also more than 275 in the whole Europe in 4 years. And the fourth way was actually to branch out with the cross-sectorial opportunities. And we started to work to connect and to bring, to create business opportunities and innovation opportunities with industries and with cities, deploying these renewable energy technologies and energy efficiency technologies in these settings. And for this, we created a think tank Smart City, which is a sort of a cluster within a cluster, if you want. It started as a working group, but actually became very big because we acted basically on the needs of the cities, of the small and medium-sized cities, up to bigger ones as well. And what we do is to link problem owners with solution providers and with funders. And in the very first year of this orchestration that we created from the cluster, it unlocked 2 million euros of public investment in these cities. Now, we are very busy in creating, in scaling up all these initiatives. And regarding to the cross-sectorial opportunities, we are scaling it up together with support from the European Commission. With the InnoSub program, we are engaging with other 9 clusters Europe-wide in order to create innovation in at the intersection of the Earth observation sector with the big data, with the environment, energy, and agri-food. And also we've worked on this also in other programs in order to harness the opportunities, the innovation opportunities in the energy and water sector. Now, in the green recovery phase at the moment, there's quite a big shift compared to the previous crisis, in which the cluster was in a dire straits, was in a very declining moment and had to reinvent itself. At this moment, we see that the renewable energy sector and the cluster is called to actually re-energize, to reignite all the other economic sectors. And actually, I could say it's even a good moment for our cluster at the moment, maybe one of the best. Not only because there's this big pot of funding that will go to the green recovery, but also because the cluster has managed to develop more resilient business model and already set up a base in which we can bring additional value even more. So just to go also very concretely on what we are doing now in the green recovery phase, is first of all, we already started during the lockdown to work with the regional government in actually creating a law, co-creating a law that would reduce the time to market for the renewable energy installation to up to even 2 years in the Valencian region, and to set up ambitious target. And 2 weeks ago, I'm proud to say that the region issued a law in which it set ambitious targets to reduce this time to market for renewable energy installation with a one-stop shop for managing these procedures for the renewable energy installation in the region. There's ambitious target from 80% of the weight of the renewable energy in the mix of energy of the region. There's ambition to get to 43% of renewable energies in 2030, and also the mission is to install 6,000 megawatts of solar. There's also a plan that is on the table where with concrete points where renewable energies will be installed, and that will actually mobilize very well the sector. We estimate that this, in the next 5 years, this will create 3,500 new green jobs and will unlock 5 billion euros of investment in the region. So this is quite ambitious, and I think that this is the first success. We've been working in this with 3 different regional ministries from 3 different political parties, and it's been a very interesting and nice journey, in which from the market we were able to bring this information, knowledge, and to co-create actually for the benefit of the sector. Second thing that we are working now is actually also related to what we started already a few years ago, which is related to innovation and to unlocking the private investment for the renewable energy sector. And that is related to a hub that we've launched already this month, which is the Green Innovators Hub. Tomorrow we have the first big event, and it's open to everybody, so everybody can connect. You find details on our webpage and on our social media. So and with this Green Innovators Hub, what we aim is to focus on scaling up. What we could do is to connect entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs with large corporates, investors, and with cities as well to implement their pilot projects. And we have important involvement from the region here, and also for the city of Valencia, but also from the business angel community. And what we do is here to close the circle. We not only work with those that create and propose the solutions, but also with those that apply the solutions and those that fund the solution. In this way, we can actually make sure that we can shape transitions into action effectively. The third thing that we are working now in the green recovery phase is actually to, in the space of the local energy communities, is to how to scale up and expand, leverage the whole potential of the self-consumption in the region, of the renewable energies, especially solar in the region. And we work in a very decentralized energy model together with property owners, with the union of consumers, and with the region in order to make local energy communities happen in the region. We also work with, because in our cluster we have more than 70 cities as members, together with our companies and other stakeholders. We work together in order to make this happen, and to have this new energy model in which we can all the neighbors can actually be part and be co-owners of their energy system. And for this, we also launched a hub this very month, in which, as I said, we work from a public-private perspective. And last but not least, we are now set up to work on how to create financial instruments for small PV installation, basically, because during the crisis we now see as an effect that there's lack of, or there's a difficult access to loans and to funding for the smaller installations up to 25 megawatts in the region. So we are working now in the green recovery with concrete proposals on how to create new financial systems, how to work with the public bank here in the Valencian region for the benefit of the sector. And just to as a conclusion, I think this is an example of how clusters really do have skin in the game at a time when we speak about the green recovery, and how clusters can actually work bottom up on the specializations of the regions, but also bringing this market intelligence bottom up. And what we are working is mainly, as also I think it was already relevant from the presentation, in terms of the green recovery concrete objectives, we work mainly on driving the shifts towards clean, circular, competitive and climate neutral economy, on unlocking investments in the clean tech sector, and investing in technologies for the European Green Deal priorities like storage, like hydrogen. It's the journey that we're starting now, but also in terms of skilling and reskilling. And here we are gonna develop a project in which we are going to actually train not only cities, which we've been doing so far, we work with mayors and training them for the green transition, but also the property owners, which need to actually get more awareness in terms of the benefit, the costs, and competitiveness of the renewable energy systems on their roof. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome, Bianca. I am sure that we will come back to you with questions and comments. Congratulations for the work that you are doing. So now it's the turn for Enrique Tejesen from the Eco Alliance. Enrique, I will try to give you the presentation rights. If not, perfect. I can share my presentation.
So where we are, I want to share this one. So can you see my slides? Hooray, that looks perfect. So get back to the first slide and start the presentation. Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Antonio. What I want to do now is I want to introduce what this environmental technology network Eco-Alliance is doing in Rhineland-Palatinate, so on the southwestern part of Germany, and how we contribute with our network regarding the renewable energies and all the other issues we are facing. First of all, let's have a quick look at what we are doing. We have, first of all, let's introduce myself. I'm professor for renewable energies at the Trier University of Applied Sciences, and I'm member of the board of the Eco-Alliance. So I have two roles, focusing on renewable energy systems and, of course, driving the environmental network. So what do we do in this network? At the moment, we have 83 members, companies, chambers, associations, and research institutes, which are focusing on 4 different topics. First of all, water and wastewater treatment. Then, of course, we have the big part of the decentralized energy systems, photovoltaics, wind, bioenergy mainly. Then what we also do is we focus on circular economy and recycling, facing these issues. And finally, one also very important issue for the future is the building technology and building energy efficiency. And what we also have is 5 universities in Rhineland-Palatinate are members of our network. So what is my agenda? Just a quick overview. What I want to introduce you is what is the regional innovation strategy of our federal state, Rhineland-Palatinate. What are the priorities we are facing, and what is the high potential area regarding energy, environmental technology, and resource efficiency. If you like, this report, it's from 2015, so 5 years old. It can be downloaded at this web link. I think we can share the link. Currently, we are working on the new strategy in Rhineland-Palatinate. What will be the next steps? There are the discussions running with all the ministries we have in the state to develop a new or to continue our innovation strategy we have. So what is the regional innovation strategy we have in Rhineland-Palatinate? There's an action framework for the future activities by the state government. There are 5 strategic aims have been identified. First, of course, the research and development facilities and infrastructure. We have research and development projects. Of course, one very important issue is the knowledge and technology transfer between the universities and the companies and the public. We need technology-driven foundations of enterprises, and that's our part coming from the Eco-Alliance, of course, the networks and clusters to force these the knowledge and technology transfer we have. What we identified in Rhineland-Palatinate is this, we call it this, the innovation bridge. So we have these strategies, we have these R&D facilities, projects, and knowledge transfers, and the foundation of the enterprises. And this shall be covered by the networks and clusters, so that the universities have their part in the research projects, but of course that the companies, the big size enterprises we have in our federal state, and of course the small and mid-sized companies, with a lot of these small and mid-sized companies in our federal state, just have a couple of really big enterprises in our state. And what we need to do is we need to connect all these different parties, get them together, that they share their knowledge, in particular in these environmental issues, to get forward in our development. What we have is we have identified 6 different priorities due to the enterprises we have. On the left-hand side, you can see this 6 high potential areas in our innovation strategy. First of all, we have the energy, environmental technology, and resource efficiency. Then, of course, a strong part is life science and health economy, very important, in particular due to this COVID-19 pandemic, with a high contribution in this aim. Microsystems technology, sensor technology, augmentation technology we have, materials and surface technology. Then, of course, the strong sector in Germany, the automobile and commercial vehicle industry we have with Opel, with a John Deere located in Rhineland-Palatinate, so big automotive companies which also face these common issues. And finally, the information and communication technologies and software systems. And the idea is now to get these participants, these areas together in 3 steps: that we have the economy, that we have the science, and finally that we get together in networks and clusters, that we share our knowledge within these sectors, and of course across the sectors, that we have getting together and find new solutions. And what we did in our network, and this Ecoline network, is what we have a look at is what are the main drivers and where's the largest potential. If you have a look at this publication of Green Tech Made in Germany, what we can see is that the global market volume of environmental technology and resource efficiency amounts at the moment to, let's say, 3.2 trillion euros, and will increase to 5.9 trillion euros in 2025, so within the next 5 years. And you see, mainly regarding energy efficiency and these environmental friendly energy technology. This includes, of course, the renewable energy systems, PV, wind, hydropower, bioenergy, of course. So that will be the drivers. Of course, sustainable mobility, so using electric cars in particular, will also be a big push within the next 5 years, reaching a threshold of, let's say, 1 trillion euros. So that is where we need to go and where we need to focus, and what we do in our cluster to get the participants together. But unfortunately, if you take a look at what is happening actually in Germany regarding these environmental technologies, and I think it's a problem all over Europe, that we are losing the share globally. So the other countries in the world are ramping up their capacities and increase their outcomes. So at the moment, regarding energy efficiency projects, the share of German companies is 30% with a decrease. You see these arrows represent the decrease, and in green that's the share of German companies regarding the global market. Even in the environmental friendly energy technology, we have this decline, although we have started this energy transition, or in Germany we call it Energiewende. We've started in the beginning of 2000 with wind and PV, with the renewable energy law, the EEG, forcing the installation of new wind turbines and PV systems all over the country, and then it spread all over the continent. But at the moment we are declining in Germany, and there are severe discussions with the government, the federal governments and the government of Germany, how to go forward with this renewable energy law and how to install more renewable energy systems. But at the moment it's a very hard discussion, because the focus is still on fossil, although the government says yes, we want more renewable and less fossil energy. But that's an issue. We have a decline in this renewable energy part. We have an increase in the sustainable mobility. You see the big companies, Volkswagen, BMW, etc. They've started to ramp up the capacities to build electric cars to compete with in particular Tesla, I think. So I think we are competitive and we'll get back our shares, but it's a hard fight, of course, to get back to this. So finally, what are the high potential areas regarding the energy, the environmental technology and resource efficiency? So what are the major contributions to the economy of Rhineland-Palatinate? Of course, we have a strong part in software systems regarding artificial intelligence, so AI. We are starting to develop lithium-ion batteries. We have research institutes all over the federal state doing research on these lithium-ion batteries to scale them up. Regarding the microtechnology and composite materials and energy systems, and finally geothermal resource management. And on the other hand, what do we have? We have the research in Rhineland-Palatinate provides major incentives towards the innovations for the global energy revolution, so that we achieve the energy transition to achieve our climate change mitigation goals in Europe. Main issues we have identified in our network is the water and sewage treatment, the energy efficiency in the industry, the circular economy, a very strong part, and finally the treatment and commercial exploitation of biomass we are focusing at the moment. So that's just very briefly within 10 minutes, I hope. So thanks for listening, and now I'm open for further questions.
Thank you to you, Enrique. I think we have a lot of new information, and I'm sure that there will be questions for all of you, but I see that Delphine has shared some comment on the chat about a big association in Grand East. Would you comment, Delphine?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we create an association. First, it was in the east of France. The contribute of the association is to help the dismantling, the recycling of blind or the wind for the wind industry. And we have several enterprises in France, in Spain, in Germany, and also in UK, who are experts about dismantling and who have choice for the recycling for the second marketplace piece. Also, we try to contribute to have ACV as well as possible to recycling fiber glass, also all the material who are in the wind industry. Also, we know enterprise in France who know to remove and to reuse the piece in the other parks in Europe.
Thank you, Delphine. Would you share a link to our website, or because thank you for sharing your email, but it would be useful if you want to share one link in the chat. We could include it also in the recording of the session and on the article that we will publish in the European Cluster Collaboration platform, if you want, okay? So,
yes,
but
thank you very much.
Very interesting. And so now it's time to open the floor for questions and comments from the rest of the attendants. Does somebody has any question, comment?
Yes, thank you very much to the speakers. I have a question to Henrik de Heesen. You mentioned that the German government is currently having severe discussions on the Energiewende, on the change of energy in Germany. And are you somehow involved in these discussions from your network?
Yes and no. We are involved in our federal states. So what we do is we have contact to our ministries, environmental ministry, and of course the economic affairs, and we try to influence them and to talk to them and explain what they need to do. The problem is, from my point of view, that the renewable energy law is discussed in Berlin, and it's far away from Rhineland-Palatinate to Berlin. And we in Rhineland-Palatinate, we have a coalition of three parties, the Social Party, the Greens, and the Liberal Party. And in Berlin, we have the Conservatives, mainly with our Chancellor Merkel. And that's the first idea of this new renewable energy law. And if you take a look at this, you see, no, that's not a big step forward. It's more or less a small step back, I think. So I think now we have to talk to them and say that's not the with this law we won't achieve our climate change mitigation goals and achieve our new installations or addition of capacities of wind and PV.
Thank you, Enrique. There is one question from Cecilia. Cecilia, would you share it?
Yeah, at first, thank you very much for the presentation. For us, it's really useful. So my question is, from the point of view of a cluster, we have the sensation that the most of the support from the Europe are from a big company, because this organization have lobbies in the Commission, or a lot of money for maybe a startup or some individual technology. But in our cluster, I'm from Ener cluster, we have a complete value chain in wind energy from the production and generation. So in our case, it's really important to support a chain or maybe an industrial ecosystem. We believe this is, at this moment, the most efficient way to maybe to support a new technology or so on, because if you want to have more private investment, it's important to understand from an individual company that they will have some market in the next step, something like this. So this is a question for the European Commission, or maybe Julia. I don't know, what do you think, or if you have some ideas in this line. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cecilia. Yes, so of course I work. I don't work for DG Grow, so I don't have the full overview of the support programs that exist for the different size of companies. But I would say that I think what is cumbersome is, of course, the application process for European funds, for which you do need to kind of build some capacity, because sometimes it can be a bit complex. But I really think that it's not related to bigger companies having lobbyists in Brussels. I think it's more a matter of having the capacity to go through all these documents, and of course that is a constraint maybe for smaller structures. But I think from the selection processes I've been in, it is a really fair process based on objective criteria. So I would really recommend you to have a look at the funding options that are available, and I'm pretty sure that options exist also at cluster level. But for this, I would recommend you to maybe get in touch through the network with my colleagues in DG Grow.
Thank you, Julia. We are sure that your procedures are totally fair, but we want also to offer our our link of the link or the facilitation of the European Cluster Alliance in order to better connect with your area and to to better know ourselves and to explore possible collaboration in the future if you want. Okay, we are totally open to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, because but it's important. In other areas we are organizing. You know, just for example, past Friday we had a meeting with the agro-food ecosystem. Just to let them know about concrete projects and concrete proposals. Sometimes what happens is that we clusters are not very well known across other services in the European Commission, and what we are defending is that we can really involve the long chains of SMEs, very innovative, very active SMEs on our projects, and not only SMEs, but also linking with the big companies that are part of clusters also. Okay, so I see a question from Ingrid. Could you tell us, Ingrid?
Yes, hello. So I'm from Tenerdis Energy Cluster. We are based in the Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes region in France. And we are part of a network of clusters, which is called ICN, International Clean Tech Network. And as the name indicates, it covers both energy and environmental technologies. But we found out that it was needed to create a subgroup within that network dedicated to renewable energy. And I was curious to hear if anyone knew of also existing European alliance of clusters dedicated to renewable energy, so that we could maybe link with this alliance if it already exists, or if not, then we would encourage renewable energy clusters to join our group.
Who wants to comment on that question? Bianca, do you know about European networks?
Well, I think ICN is one of the famous specifically working network on clean tech. But also I think, and I would like to draw attention also to the networks that also have been created through, for example, INNOSAT calls that I know that there are also some projects that have been funded also under clean energy or renewable energy. So I also would like to invite you to have a look at those. Those are sometimes they are still, even after the project, those networks are still working and collaborating and working for the benefits of SMEs. So from my past experience, we connected with some, but also other networks, for example, to which ICN is connected is also Energy in Water, European Strategic Cluster Platform, and the ESCPs in general are also platforms or networks, if you want, that work in specifically these type of challenges related to our sector. So those are, I would invite you to have a look at those as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add on that.
There is an echo, probably from you, Frederic. Are you using, let's check. Could you speak now, Frederic?
Yeah, I can. This is better.
That's perfect. Go on, please.
Yeah, I would like to add to the the answer of Bianca, that, for example, in the ESCP, the last one on cluster excellence, there is the project Smart Energy, in which actually also Tenerdis and Flux 50, we are also part of ICN, are also members. And I think that those kind of Flemish or European supported schemes also help to professionalize the sector of clusters. Because what we see also from ICN is that, answering one of the previous remarks, that clusters are not well known at the European level, which I agree with. We hope through clusters of clusters like ICN to have enough power to be able to present ourselves at such a platform. With ICN, for example, we are able to draw the attention of the Solar Impulse Foundation of Bertrand Piccard, where we are now helping him to bring new technologies to his attention. So I think creating those meta clusters might help in gaining access to the European administrative machine, to call it like that.
Thank you, Frederick. I have a comment on that. As you know, the European Cluster Alliance was born as the joining of national networks, but we have General Assembly passed Monday, and we decided to include, because we have received some requests from different networks to join us officially and to be part of the European Alliance. And so we decided past Monday to organize that. And the first member to be welcome is Siber, that will participate tomorrow in the session about health. So for those of you that could be interested, you are invited also, okay? Where most of you are part of the European Cluster Alliance through your national networks, okay? But what we are speaking about is to organize also or make an umbrella for the pan-European different sectoral network, or not sectoral, specialized network, if you want to say it that way, okay?
Could you provide some information on that to us? Because we would be very interested as ICN to investigate such possibilities.
So you can contact me if you want, or Nina. I will put my email in the chat. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And we will provide you with any information related to that. Okay. So,
Fabio, can I say something? Just a quick information for Frederick. Frederick, there is already the Global Clean Tech Association profiled also on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, and you can also profile your work there.
Sorry, there is an echo. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Please put your mic off. It could be from Bianca. Yeah, thank you, Bianca, very much. So it's time to close. I am sure that we could keep the conversation for more minutes, but we need to respect the timing. For tomorrow, we are going to speak about the health industrial ecosystem. As we know that there are, we have in fact 6 speakers, not 3 as today, 6. We will have a special session, 90 minutes long, okay? For your information, we will have 3 persons from the European Commission and 3 clusters sharing the references. You are invited to join us, okay? And so, in closing, thank you very much, Julia, Bianca, Enrique, and every one of you that has participated. And see you soon, I hope. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.